All right, episode 2 of Winning Time. The rise of the Lakers dynasty is over, and we're here to talk about it. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net, and I lived through the 80s and the Lakers Showtime era. I'm joined by Akeem, Derek, and Evan. Akeem, go ahead. Give us your intro, and let's get right into this.
Hey, I'm Akeem. I'm a writer for the peachbasket.net. I write about the Sixers, do some trade scenarios as well. And you can follow me on Twitter at Akeem802 and Instagram at Akeem802. And I was born in the 90s, so I didn't see this Lakers dynasty in real time. So through watching this show, I'm learning a few new things and excited to see the whole season.
All right. Derek.
Yeah, so my name is Derek. I'm a writer for the Peachbacks as well. I do more of the kind of the total landscape, but obviously I'm a diehard Laker fan. Like Akeem, was born in the 90s, loved the Shaq and Kobe Lakers. Consider myself a basketball historian, but to be able to visually see this, this series and this show episode by episode, kind of getting the background and all the behind the scenes stuff that not even books give you was really exciting. So to be able to, discuss it with guys who lived it in the moment as well as going through it with all of you is really exciting.
All right, Evan.
Yeah, my name is Evan. I'm also a writer for the Peach Basket, and I've been a Laker fan for over 40 years. So, I lived through this. I'm, diehard Laker fan. I was just suffering through a bad loss just before we started this. So anyway, yeah, I'm happy to be here. And yeah, talking about this, this was the era that made me a Laker fan and shaped me. And so love to talk about this.
Outstanding. I'm really glad that you're here, Evan. Last time, the two 90s kids, and I were the only two that kind of walked through this. So I'm glad to have, I don't know, someone a little
some
more
reinforcement.
That's right, a little more experienced to join in.
An ally,
An ally. And you nailed it. I mean, Magic Johnson came to be when I kind of came to be. It's what I said last week. I started self-realization at the same time Magic happened. I started playing sports at the same time Magic happened. So it had such an impact on my life. And watching this episode today was difficult. We'll talk about it. This is kind of the format we're going to follow. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of encapsulate the episode really quick. And then we're going to dive deeper into what each of us thought from their perspective. So this is the short recap of episode 2, the way I saw it. In episode 2, we saw a few lines being drawn in the sand. Jerry West came to grips with what he wanted and what he didn't want in a pretty wild way, pretty emotional way. And I'm sure that'll come up more than once. Dr. Jerry Buss discovered what it would take to create a dynasty in LA thanks to a nemesis from Boston, which were one of my favorite scenes this episode. And we'll talk about that. And then Magic Johnson prepared for his move to Los Angeles. That's kind of the storylines for episode 2. Akeem, you're up first, man. What'd you take out of this episode?
I felt like with this episode, they were starting to establish some secondary traits for the main characters in Jerry West, Dr. Buss, and Magic. So with Jerry West, the first episode, you really only see him expressing a lot of anger, where in the second episode, they get a little more nuanced and, they start to express his anxiety, his depression, and they have that scene where he's lying on the floor in his underwear after, finally getting exactly what he wants. And that's kind of full leeway to do whatever he wants with the team. And kind of, he has a fear of failure there, where he finally gets what he needs, but now he's scared that he won't be able to accomplish what he wants to accomplish now that he has that.
Yeah.
And then with Dr. Buss, in the first episode, he's very happy-go-lucky, always got a smile on his face. In this episode, you start to see that competitive side, and more fierceness out of him, especially in the scenes with Red Auerbach. And you also get kind of the first glimpse of that Celtics-Lakers rivalry where they have that shot of him and Arbach on the forum floor staring across from each other at center court. I thought that was really great visual.
I'm not going to lie. I know it was just a show, but when he dropped that cigar, and it wasn't even a Laker logo, it was a Forum logo.
Oh my
that
God.
riled me up, man.
Yeah.
I did not like the disrespect.
I wanted Dr. Buzz to shove that cigar. So, when he dropped it and walked away, oh my God.
It was a classic. I don't know if it happened or didn't, but it was so encapsulated that rivalry, right? It was so awesome. It was like round one, ding, ding, let's go, right? It was awesome. I'm sorry, Akeem. Go ahead.
No, it was a great scene. And then also I like how they kind of established Dr. Bus, like his toughness when they talk about his background growing up in Wyoming, working on the farm. And then also kind of like bringing in some of his poker player skills. He's kind of using those in real life with the team, because I looked it up earlier. He's actually won or come in top 5 in a bunch of professional poker tournaments.
Yep.
So he's done pretty well there. And then with Magic, they kind of give you that first glimpse of his killer instinct, and that's kind of when he shows up at the basketball court looking for Cookie, and he shows up her man there on the court. And I think one of the funny things there is that that's kind of what Jerry West is looking for, but he doesn't see it in Magic yet.
Right.
But eventually he will. So that's kind of like the first glimpse of Magic's competitiveness.
You know, I saw a lot of people get really upset that Jerry West was presented the way he was, because Jerry West, we know him as a talent guy, a guy who recognizes talent, and people did not believe that he didn't see Magic for who he was. But that is true. And I know, Evan, you tweeted a lot about episode 1. Sorry you couldn't be here. Probably my fault. But I saw your tweets, and that was true to life. For whatever reason, Jerry West did not see in Magic initially what we all saw, that he became. So, yeah, that's wild. Because you're right. I mean, I didn't get that before from this episode. That killer instinct was evident when he took Cookie's boyfriend to task on that basketball court. And that's exactly what West wanted, but he couldn't see it. Right on. Hey, Derek, you got any thoughts? Or what are your thoughts? I know you got them on episode 2.
Yeah. Honestly, this episode, for the 3 main characters for this episode of Jerry West, Magic, and Dr. Bus, it was mainly the impact of family. Like, we saw immediately the opening episode about the torment Jerry West went through and why he's a perfectionist, but like the truest sense, like he was never satisfied. And even when he's always, the old saying was, Jerry West, every time he was unhappy, he was actually happy. Like, he needed to be tormented in order for him to enjoy, like, kind of, the fruits of his labor, because of all the abuse he suffered as a child from his father and some of the dark things that he went through as a kid. Then we fast forward to the middle part of the episode with Magic. And the reason why Magic loves to be loved by people was because he never got that approval from his mother. Even though during the episode, Cookie told him, like, your mom's telling you you might not be getting that love from her directly, but she's going around town telling you about how much she loves you, how happy she is. But you can see it. You can see it on Magic's face that he's trying to seek his mom's approval. Even the scene with the pastor where he gives all that money and then he shows up, Cookie's boyfriend.
Yeah, it doesn't fit. This water cat don't fit.
But the look on his mom's face when he immediately, after he does that, he looks directly to his mom, and his mom's giving him the side eye look, and that smile immediately goes to a frown, because he's just like, I can't do anything to make this woman happy. Like, I can't do anything. So then he tries to seek it from other people. And then at the end of the episode with Dr. Bus, when he tells that great story about going outside in the cold Wyoming, and his knuckles are bleeding,
Yeah.
and it's cold, and he's tired, and then his father comes out and he laughs at him, and then that's the whole. He got reminded of that memory, that whole dinner with Red Auerbach.
Yeah.
So for me, this episode really came away of the foundation of why these men are driven the way they are in all
Right.
different facets and all different angles.
Yeah, it set things up so well. I thought. I love the way y'all see it. You guys see things that I don't see, because I think I'm looking for the accuracies or the inaccuracies based on what I knew. You guys are looking at it from a different perspective, which is totally cool. Evan, I know you're looking at it through my eyeballs in a sense. So, and I know I don't want to speak for you, but I'm pretty sure based on your tweets, you read the book, right? So
Yeah, I did read the book. Yeah,
so
and
you know a little about this. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, then they've really kind of expanded out, from the book, but they're kind of keeping with the same timeline. And what I really appreciated about this episode that was really interesting to me was that they really delved into a lot of the whys for why Jerry West is such a cantankerous, difficult guy sometimes. Because he really had a reason for that. And I'm so glad they included Auerbach in this, because Auerbach was that line where he even says I can't remember it exactly, about where Jerry West thinks it's a leprechaun. No, it's me. And he starts just
that was awesome.
Like that. Yeah, exactly. I laughed, because that is perfect. That is so Red Auerbach. And Michael Chiklis did a great job
100%.
as Red Auerbach. I mean, just that is exactly how Red was. Like, he did not care. He would rip your heart out. And and Jerry Buss was totally the opposite. And that's, as a kid, that was one of the reasons that I gravitated towards the Lakers, is I liked that kind of laid back kind of style. And because the Celtics were very kind of businesslike, and so yeah, it was that's what really kind of pulled me to the Lakers. So I really appreciated that. And I also, the other thing that was really cool to me, that's really not in the book at all, hardly, there's very little tiny mentions of Jeannie, but I really like how they've incorporated her into this, because she's really an important part. She worked her butt off, all the way up through that organization to where she is. She's where she is because of what she did. So it's cool that they're showing where she started from.
Yeah, you're right. And today, and again, I don't know if this is true or not, but they kind of alluded to the fact that she might have had a hand in making the Forum a musical venue, which is what it kind of became, and that's epic. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, you're right. Jeannie, she started literally getting coffee, it was depicted today, to get to where she is. A lot of respect.
Getting no respect for it too.
Right.
Tough job.
All right. So yeah, let me tell you my thoughts watching this thing. First off, the opening scene, when we kind of flash back to Jerry West's youth, was really hard to watch. The old adage is don't meet your heroes, not that I've met Jerry West, but I was at a game this season a few months ago, and I saw him. And listen, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I was in awe. It's Jerry West, man, and he was, maybe 30 feet from me. He did not acknowledge me. He did not see me, but he was breathing the same air as me, and that was cool. And I thought, man, this is basketball royalty, And then you start learning a little bit about, how hard things were for him, and they didn't, they kind of alluded to, to mental illness, depression, an inability to be happy. That stuff's hard. It hurts your heart, and seeing why he got there. Akeem alluded to this, because of, the childhood, and he could never really, enjoy what he had. That was hard. It was really hard for me to watch. Chick Hearn was, not a hero, but a guy I literally grew up listening to. And watching him depicted today was pretty cool, even though it's just a little bit. I thought that was neat. We talked about the Jeannie thing. The one kind of thing that, in Evan, I might lean on you here, because as I watched it, it didn't ring true to me. They showed the 72 championship when Jerry West finally won, and they showed confetti coming down. I don't think they had confetti in 1972. I think that was a relatively new thing from the Showtime era. Not a big deal, but it kind of didn't sit right with me. Red Auerbach even alluded to the balloons that were up in the air before 72 that never came down because the Celtics came back and won that series. So I think if they would have dropped anything, it would have been balloons, not confetti. I mean, Evan, am I off base? I don't know.
No, I think that was really done for theatrical things. I mean,
right.
I don't really know for sure because honestly, I was 1 year old when they got that championship, but it just doesn't seem to jive with me. 1972.
Yeah.
Dropping confetti, but it works in the scene because it's like finding the piece in his hair.
Right.
Like,
exactly right.
So I think it was more for that, just kind of just kind of an embellishment prop, kind of.
Right. Yeah, no, and they say at the end, this is based, mostly on true stories. They take some liberties,
Oh yeah, they do.
But it was, like I said, for me, it was a rough episode because of, seeing, Jerry West and kind of pulling the veil back a little bit on who he was and why he was the way he is, even to this day, I'd imagine. Yeah. And then seeing Magic, kind of start to transition. There are some times, man, you guys, we talked about this last week, where I feel like I'm looking at Magic Johnson, man, from the right angle. It's crazy. That smile he gives, that side look, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and the eyes, he looks a lot like Magic too, not just a smile. Yeah.
He so does, and it's cool, because it helps. I think the hardest thing with any movie like this is when you watch him play, because that's when right away this is an actor, because nobody can do what they did, but they make the movie. They even the game they shot when that we talked about with Cookie's boyfriend, they shot it in a way that was quick snippets and close-ups of Magic, so you really got the sense that you were watching something real happen. Good episode. I think I'm excited though to get to what the era that I remember. Like we talked last week about the first game against the San Diego Clippers when Kareem hits the sky hook to win the game and Magic acts like he won the championship. Those things. The drama of getting to where they want to get, because I know how it ends. We all know how the story ends.
Yeah.
I want to start getting to kind of the meat of it. I feel like they're kind of laying the foundation, which is a good segue to what our thoughts are for season. Episode 3.
I had one more point.
Yeah.
Just about one thing in the episode that really showed like a contrast between that 80s era of basketball in the new era of basketball. The fact that Jerry Buss could kind of barely afford to run and operate the team, that was extremely common in sports in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Wow. Whereas now, whenever someone buys a new franchise, generally they will only sell it to someone who just has an absorbent amount of money and can afford to make mistakes. Like they sell to like Silicon Valley guys now, right? Mm-hmm. So that would never happen now.
Yeah, excellent point. And wouldn't happen had the Lakers not had the success. Like, that coin flip that happened in that first episode. Think about what would have happened if Magic would have gone to Chicago and you never would have had Bird and Magic in the finals. Like, this league probably doesn't survive.
Yeah,
possible.
That scene, we talked about that last week, but the way they did it in slow motion, right? And they had to go find the quarter underneath the cushion. It was so awesome. And again, that's probably all creative, license, but it was so cool to watch. All right. Yeah, no, good point. I mean, today you got, Steve Ballmer, dropping $2 billion when the asking price for the Clippers at the time was, I think, $700 million or something. He just says, no, I want him $2 billion. And that's what you need today to buy a team. All right. Episode 3. Like I said, I think a lot of, this was kind of, setting the table. The episode ended with Jerry West quitting. And so obviously we're going to have to integrate a new coach next week. But my guess is next week.
Does anybody know who that is? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No,
do the young kids actually know Who the next guy is?
Yeah, I
I'm
said
curious.
it last week. It's Paul Westhead.
You're wrong, actually. Nope, it's not Paul Westhead.
Oh no, so that's right. No, oh my God, the guy he fell off his bike. He fell off his bike. Oh my God,
Yes,
Paul Westhead was assistant. Oh my God, I'm blanking on his name.
yes,
Jack McKinney.
Oh, Jack McKinney. That's right, Jack McKinney.
Yeah.
Which by the way, once again, people are gonna think that's dramatized. Like it was him and Paul Westhead. They were riding bike and he fell and he got into an accident and he couldn't. I think 10 games into his coaching career with the Lakers, and then he couldn't coach anymore. So then Paul Westhead took over.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it incapacitated him basically, and like,
yeah.
yeah, he just
So
couldn't
weird,
do it
so
anymore.
sad.
And yeah, just one of those freak accidents. He was out biking by himself, and yeah, just fell off his bike, and you know, you know, changed history.
Yeah, when we get to Westhead, there's a lot. He was an interesting character. I can't wait till we get to that because there's a lot of stuff. That's when things got to me really interesting.
Yeah, and Riley.
Well,
Yeah.
Riley, yeah, we talked a little about Riley. That's the weirdest thing. Yeah, we can't dive too deep into that now. But yeah, I imagine they're going to go all the way to Riley. Does the book go?
Mm-hmm.
It's got to, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The book goes. Yeah.
The book
It'll
covers.
it'll be hard for me to imagine Riley as anything but the finished product that he is now. Like I've never seen him before. He was just like Pat Riley with the slick back hair and Armani suits.
See,
Yeah,
he
I'm
looked
looking
like that
forward
when
to
he
that
was
too.
Chick's sidekick, though. I think.
Yeah.
I really don't remember him much, but I think he was still kind of the slick
Yeah, he
back
was.
hair dude.
Yeah, from the footage, he was slick back. But I hope they show some of his playing because he had the full Manchu,
Oh yeah,
like
he
70.
did.
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, he
And
did.
so I really hope they really sell that point when they go because he did used to play for the Lakers. He used to
Yeah.
play for the
Yeah.
Lakers. So
Yeah, that's before my time, but I've seen the pictures. And all right, well, let's talk then about what we expect to see in episode 3. My thinking is Magic arrives in LA and we got preseason drama and the new coach is integrated, which will all be, really, really interesting. Akeem, what do you see coming?
Yeah, I think we'll see the development of Magic and Kareem's relationship, and also
right.
Magic kind of butting heads with Norm Nixon, I'm guessing, and with I don't know if the coaching plan that Jerry West talked about playing Magic at the 4. I don't know if that happens with the next coach, but that would obviously cause an issue, and then just kind of communication between the coach and Bus and what Bus wants, which he wants the ball in Magic's hand,
right.
obviously.
That makes so much sense, though, that they would want to do that to a 6'9", point guard. At the time, there was never a 6'9" point guard, so turning him into a point forward, that was kind of revolutionary. Assuming he was going to turn him into a point forward, he may not have. I don't know what the intention was, but that was interesting. I don't know. I think that rings true that that's what they would want to do with somebody that size. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that plays
and
out.
I mean, it's funny because that's actually very modern, right? Like
100%.
You look at NBA teams, like you have LeBron, James Harden has the ball in his hands all the time, Giannis. Like now it's just put the ball in your best player's hands, which is what the Lakers did. And then even with the Celtics too, Larry Bird, like he's the OG stretch 4. He was like the first guy really doing it, which is now a big part of every modern NBA offense. So like those two guys birthed it, really.
Yeah. No, we've heard that they changed the game over and over again. It's legit. They really did change the game. Derek, what do you see coming episode 3?
So I think episode 3 is going to really highlight the training camp, but specifically the rift between Magic Johnson and Norm Nixon. Like we already saw a little bit into episode 1, when they were at, of all people, Donald Sterling's house playing one-on-one. So I think episode 3 is really going to dive into that. And also too, the way it seems that Dr. Bus and Magic are obviously going to take like 2/3 of the scenes, but then there's always going to be a side character that's going to take the other third. So this episode is Jerry West. I think next episode, we're going to get really heavy Kareem, because we really
Mm.
haven't gone, and we gotten like basically a couple scenes in the first two
Right.
episodes with Kareem. So I think episode 3, I think we're really gonna get a deep dive into like Kareem and his background and kind of maybe we go into why he changed his name, why he's so distanced towards the media and kind of towards pretty much everybody. I so that's how I view what I think is going to come out in episode 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Kareem character is fascinating. I can't wait to dive deeper into, Kareem. Evan, what do you see coming?
Well, I think, I got kind of an advantage just because, I've read the book.
Oh,
I
right,
know a lot
right,
of this stuff. So I think what's really coming is there's a great story for the very first game of this season where it comes down to a last second shot. Kareem hits the last second shot. Magic goes wild, goes up and hugs him, goes crazy. And then back in the locker room, Kareem goes up to Magic and says, you, there's 81 more of these games.
right.
Can't be doing
Right.
doing that to me every
Yeah.
night. And
Yeah.
Magic's response is, you do that 81 more times, I'm doing that.
Yeah. Dude, listen, I don't mean to belabor this because I talked about this last week, but you brought it up. That was against the San Diego Clippers.
Yeah,
And I remember that game. I mean, I remember it.
that's awesome.
It was not it was game 1. It was in San Diego. The Clippers were not good. This wasn't a game that the Lakers it shouldn't have been that close. Kareem hits a sky hook. It wasn't a sky hook from 4 or 5 feet. It was a sky hook from 15 feet out. And I remember it to this day. And Magic just jumped on him.
Yep.
And the look on Kareem's face was like, what are you doing? And, later on, right, historically, we found out that, he told him, listen, dude, we got 81 more of these. It's such a great story, but it changed everything because you knew right then and there, this team is different. This player is different. He sees things differently. So, I would love to see that depicted. That's going to mean everything to me.
Yeah, me too.
Right on. I agree with you guys. Like I said, I think preseason. I think diving deeper into Kareem would be very, very cool. We're gonna finish today like we finished last week. We're gonna go ahead and just throw out a what's it called? A little pat on the back from another one of our partners, Isaac Edelman. Thanks for watching. We're having fun doing this. We did this last week. We're going to do it this week, and we're going to do it every week. Who was the winner of tonight's episode? It's real subjective. However you think, a winner, whatever you think makes a winner. I've got my pick. I'll go last. Akeem, who's your winner tonight?
I'm going to go with Jerry Buss. I felt like he had the best scenes in this episode. Like I talked about earlier, the first scene where he's kind of locked up in that spare room in his house. And then also I really love the scene where he told his wife that winning that championship was the happiest he's ever been, and then they flash to his face and he's like, his heart rate is barely up, like he's just got nothing. He's basically like Kawhi Leonard, just nothing. And I just thought that was a really great scene. It made me laugh.
Yep.
So I feel like he was the MVP for tonight.
Derek, who's your winner?
So obviously we all love this, for Evan and myself, this is very personal, but for every great hero, you need a great villain.
Yes.
And my choice is Red Auerbach because I despise Boston. I despise the Celtics. And for the 2 or 3 scenes he was in it just reminded me the hatred. And just remembering when he's puffing on that cigar and him always lighting that cigar 5 minutes before the game's over because he knows we won it, it's over. And just the thing that always ticked me off was that he looked at LA like, oh, you're soft, you're flashy, but yet he's the one lighting up the cigar, being the showman against us. I go because he said, like he will rip your heart out and do it with a smile on his face and sleep like a baby that night. And so for me, like the way he just relit, I believe, all Laker fans' hatred. Like you said, the scene of him dropping the cigar on the forum and walking off to catch a flight. Like it was just like, oh, let's just lace him up now. Let's just lace him up now. Let's go. So
I'm sure Boston fans were loving that scene.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
And then when he brought up 69, when he walked into the arena and looked up, I'm like, he's bringing up 69. He's bringing up the damn balloon.
He said, I haven't been in this dump.
Oh
right?
my
Did you say
God.
that?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I'm like, you want to talk about a dump? You have cold showers. You don't have a working heater.
Panels that fluctuate on the floor.
Yeah, but we have the dump. Yeah, we have the dump. Okay. But yeah, so for me, Red Auerbach.
Red Auerbach. All right, Evan, you're up.
Yeah, I'm gonna just pile on that one too. Yeah, Michael Chiklis was great, man. It was like you said, it was reigniting that whole hatred that we had, and it's a good fun hatred is what I remember about it. It's like I can't stand Red Auerbach at all. So and the cigar was great, and just that was the best for me.
I listen. I agree. The entry scene with him when he is just, they said a bus was looking for him, and he said, "Just look for the white smoke," and then you just got this cloud. It was so amazing
in black and white, no less.
The cinematography there. Listen, I don't know how to do anything creative like that, but that drew me in, right? And immediately you knew you were seeing, Drago in Rocky. Or
like a mafia, like a Godfather. Yeah.
You were seeing the quintessential bad guy. Just boom, right? He just clear the smoke. There,
the guy who runs things.
Boom, the guy who is in charge, who runs things. It was epic, and man, I loved it. Back then, it was ML Carr waving the towel. It was Kevin McHale with the clothesline.
ML.
Those battles were amazing. The battle lines are drawn. He won it for me. I can't wait to watch that.
I never understood how a guy who never played and he gets crap minutes. ML Carr is one of the most beloved Celtics. It drives me insane.
He could twirl that towel like nobody. I think. Yeah, I'm not even gonna go there. I know it's insane. I think that we'll probably see ML, and we can revisit this. But overall entertaining episode. I'm ready to get to the meat of this. We might see that movie. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll see it moving forward. Well, great fun. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for joining. Join us next week when we recap episode 3 of Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty.
The voice of the fan. Drop a bounce pass, throw down the rim rocker. Lay up off the glass, right past the shot blocker. I follow through like Kobe's money. You can cash it. For news on LA Hoops, come over to Peach Basket. Up-to-date sports, post-game reports. Debates and play-by-play coming straight off the court. The voice of the fan making noise, causing havoc. Zone a man up, you can ask Peach Basket. The Peach Basket, come and tune on there.